From project reviews to incredible interviews, along with the general things in Web3, CraigO's Crypto Corner covers the space in a fun and engaging way. We dive in so our listeners can conceptualize, plan, strategize, and implement their very next move. We are quickly becoming a platform that enriches and supports the overall foundation of Web3. In order to grow, you need your voice to be heard. If you have infinite curiosity, then CraigO's Crypto Corner is just for you. Come join us.
You're tuning into CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technology. Great reviews, incredible interviews with the leading people in the Web3 ethos, and just the general things Web3. Let's get to it today. And let me just be clear, co-host, no co-host today, totally cool. We're going to be having Jared in, who's the head of marketing and media over at NFT Go. And before we get to all that, I got to bring in my good friend, Ralph Quintero, with our daily, weekly Ralpha update. What's up, my man?
What is up, Craig? Happy to be here. Excited about Jared joining us. Such a solid guy. Love him.
Yep. The best Jared we know.
That's right.
So I just want to start it off on this. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm flossing here. TJ Maxx, $12.99. You only pay full price once. And I save money on this. So I'm feeling good about my threads.
I'm digging your threads. I am also a TJ Maxx guy myself. Take advantage of it as much as you can. What do you mean why?
No, but I'm saying though, like when people go out and they, I spent, $500 for my cardigan. You're the idiot, not me. I like to save money so I can have money.
Look, I very much take a playbook out of the Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg playbook, and that is that I have like 12 black t-shirts and like the same ones. I wear Lululemon black tees, and I have like 12 of them, and I have the same pair of jeans. I have like 8 pairs of those, and it's easy. Like I wake up in the morning and I know exactly what I'm going to wear. I don't have to like struggle with it.
As long as you're not rocking the yoga pants, we're cool, man.
I can't wear yoga pants to your show, Craig.
You can do whatever you want. I mean, listen, you can do whatever you want. I'm totally cool with it, man. I just want to be clear.
You'll never know what I'm wearing underneath, ever.
Wow. Can we just get to our daily, weekly Ralpha update? I feel somehow vulnerable and violated all at the same time.
Let's do it, man. What do you want to talk about today? So much going on.
All right. So I guess let's start this. Before we talk about digital asset communities, i.e. NFTs, for those that don't know, I do want to talk about some of the companies making waves in the Web3 ecosystem and really understanding how they're leveraging their IP. We were talking about that a little before we came on. Are there any relevant stories that come to top of mind that some people should be thinking about concerning big major brands that are playing in the Web3 space?
I mean, we've talked about it over the last couple of weeks. I think that the most important one right now is Pudgy Penguins. They've really been doing a great job with leveraging the IP of the collection of some of the holders. I believe they've officially licensed 14 or 15 penguins that have been turned into toys at Amazon. They recently were awarded the best toy at one of the big toy conferences. So I think that they're doing a phenomenal job. There's a certain amount of holders that have done a phenomenal job with their Yuga assets as well, right? Whether it's their Bored Apes or their mutants. I've seen them on coffee, on water, on beer, on honey. One of my favorite products is one of the Bored Ape holders has an ape that he has aptly named Captain Weidenfur. And Captain Weidenfur is the spokesperson for a honey brand, a local honey brand, which is really good honey. And it always makes me happy to see Captain Weidenfur on the front of these honey bottles. But I mean, there's a lot of people doing really cool things. The question though is, are holders skilled enough to go out and negotiate their own IP rights, right? Like I could see small brands doing it. I could see some people doing it, but are the majority of holders in the space likely going to go out and negotiate IP rights, or licensing deals for their NFTs? I don't know.
I don't think so. I mean, for instance, it's like, how many people just at simple can go out and start their own business, successfully understand how to register with the state, speak with their accountant, understand a P&L statement, whether it's a product or a service. What does the marketing look like? What does the media engagement look like? How many employees? What's the overhead? All of these things that most people don't think about. And again, there's a difference between ownership and employment. And so you know what though? The good news is that it creates the curiosity for those that dare to dream and follow their dreams and, fall down and get back up. But I will say those that are savvy enough, like for instance, we were saying about products like beer, coffee, honey. Can you imagine that a coffee brand really takes off and achieves incredible things, and that Bored Ape is directly tied to it? And depending on the price of that digital asset overall in the ecosystem on its rarity and traits, that you're selling that with the company whenever you decide to sell. That's really cool.
It is. I mean, those are the stories that keep me engaged in seeing what the possibilities with IP are in this space. You know that I'm passionate about IP, but then we also go back. You recently had Alex Taub from Truth Labs on. And we were talking about Illuminati assets, and we were talking about Goblin Town assets. And one of the things that I love is how they've handled IP rights with the 187, where they as a brand are negotiating on behalf of their holders, which I applaud. I would rather have Alex and his team negotiate the rights of my two 187s than me going out and trying to figure it out, because I think Alex ultimately has the best interests of his brand in mind.
I think he has a much better handle on it. And then you're thinking about the first two people that minted the 187, each of them has a 1% one in products, the merchandise. And then the other one has 1% of the sales. I believe it's of Goblin Town. Is that correct?
Correct.
So, I mean, that's pretty powerful. And that person has been rewarded now. The other person
over 40 ETH.
40 ETH. How great! I mean,
because it was retroactive, which is incredible.
So that NFT has ownership from here on out. So wherever that goes, so does the ownership. And so that particular digital asset has a value well above, obviously, floor. And then based on its rarity and traits and its uniqueness, and now tied that to IP that actually is making money. Man, I love that. And I thought it was brilliant how they played that out. And, to make an example of two people in the community and reward them accordingly with a piece of ownership is pretty cool. I
think so. I'm looking forward to the day that it's my turn.
Now, I did a lot of reading before Jared is coming on tonight at 9:45, and I looked into Azuki and their Elementals mint. Elementals. I was calling it Elements, and their Beans airdrop. And I looked at Heavy Metal Forge, and I have some thoughts around both what's going on. Heavy Metal Forge, for those that don't know, part of the Yuga asset ecosystem, and Azuki. We all know Azuki, and we know how much you love Azuki. But I know I love that laugh. Which one should we talk about? And what are your thoughts on all that's going on, along with the crash of blue chips over the past 7 days?
Look, let's start with a conversation about the crash in blue chips over the last 7 days. So as you know, I was out with my family touching some grass, totally off the grid. I was up in the mountains in Virginia, had no cell phone signal starting like midday Friday. And I finally made my way down the mountain like early this week, and I opened my phone and I opened one of my favorite apps, Floor app, and I looked at the floor prices of Bored Apes, Mutants, Azuki, DGods, and I was like, oh shit, the app is broken. There's something definitely wrong. And I reached out to my friends, and they're like, nope, that's exactly what's going on. Like everything's a dumpster fire. And I was just like taken aback, because some of those numbers were the lowest that I had seen in like over 2 years. It was nice that we saw some recovery of it yesterday, but I mean, we have a long way to claw back before we're back at
we do
numbers. And I think we haven't seen the end of it. I think we may see another downturn, like another leg down before we start picking up some more steam.
Yeah, and people love emerging technology as the Web3 ecosystem is, and everything being interconnected on the blockchain. But I would just throw it out on a couple things. It's sort of like a house of cards in a sense, right? How low can it go? It can go low because what was inflated by. And I think my thought on, Yuga, I mean, obviously we talked enough about Azuki and once we have, and I see that in our spaces, by the way. Jared, if you can hear us, I see you as a speaker, but let's get you in a StreamYard if we can. But I just want to talk about Heavy Metal Forge, right? So Heavy Metal Forge, forging in the metaverse and creating your tiles and the play, and you've got this little animal creature that poops on the tiles. I'm sorry, just me. Maybe it's because I'm 46. Maybe I'm out of touch. I'm not playing video games. I'm collecting digital assets. I'm looking to build off of IP. I mean, one of the things that, we're grateful to be in the Kid Called Beast community. And I look at my beast and I'm like, okay, how can this be part of the CraigO crypto identity, the podcast identity a little bit, right? Utilizing a little bit of that PFP without the whole thing, because I'm all the jumping in the air thing. So I think about branding and positioning, but I don't think about sitting on a game on my phone and playing Forge. Now, I'm more curious about the analytics and the technical side and the data to support what's going on with the project, and is it a good purchase? But I want to see Yuga expanding out, working on the Bored Ape, working on the Mutant, working within the ecosystem, all the other things that they did, working on their ape token. This is interesting to me because I'm curious, like, what demographic, and I'm assuming it's the 20-somethings that it appeals to, just doesn't appeal to me. This is my personal opinion. What's yours?
Yeah, look, I have two sons that are 20 and 21, and they're avid gamers, and they actually love everything that Yuga's doing right now in terms of gaming. Right. They liked Dookie Dash, they love the Heavy Metal Forge, and they're actually looking forward to all of these other mini games and ultimately the other side when it fully launches. They've been part of both of kind of like the test runs, and it's been flawless both times. Mm-hmm. I think the gaming sector is going to be huge for NFTs second half of this year and most of next year. So I think that Yuga is early. It may not appeal to us as non-avid gamers, but I'll tell you, having played around with it a little bit last week, it was definitely interesting. Am I going to sit and play for 2, 3, 4 hours at a time? Not my bag. Just kind of like you, right? That's not what I'm going to do. Right. However, as a digital asset collector, like you mentioned, I would like the opportunity to be able to lend out my Yuga assets and let other people play and enjoy in the returns of those people playing with my assets.
Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. And by the way, really quick, Jared has his hand up. Bring him in, but we wanted to get him into StreamYard. But depends on if he's available for that. And if not, we'll just get him in Twitter Spaces and whenever you need to head off. But let's just bring him up real quick if we can. This is fun. Huh?
Yeah, send me the StreamYard link. I never received. DM it to me.
Not a problem. We'll get you that StreamYard link shortly. We'll get you in just a second. Did you get it to him? Okay.
Yeah, but on the note what you're talking about, so I think you're missing an important point. So first of all, I'm 36. I'm not an avid gamer, but I do game, and so I bought a Heavy Metal, and I've been playing the game. So I think you're missing some of the value in this. So when it comes to what they're doing, it's more than just, I'm playing a game. It's user engagement and building community. So like it's a really creative way to do a mint. So that's essentially what they did with Dookie Dash, right? It was an interactive mint where if you did well on the game, you would get a better NFT. And it's the same thing with Heavy Metal. So if you play the game actively and you're good at it, then you'll be rewarded in the end. So what you're doing here, it has two things. Mm-hmm. It's getting the users more involved in your community, and that so if they spend more time playing your game and they enjoy it, they become more attached to your brand and they become power users. And having 1,000 power users is much more valuable than having 10,000 people that just are kind of there. And so getting people super, super engaged and immersed in your community is incredibly valuable. At the same time, for certain people, like for me, I'm on my computer all day. I'm, writing articles, running Twitter, doing lots of link building and SEO stuff. And so to have one tab open with my Forge, and when I have free time, just sort of go in for a little bit, clean up my poop, build a couple tiles. To me, it's kind of like nothing. I sort of just do it without even thinking. So while it might not be for everyone, I think it's important to understand the marketing value and the community value behind what they're doing and kind of how genius it is.
I agree with Jared. So two things. We're going to get you over to StreamYard, but before we do, let me just say these couple things and just reiterate what you just said. And I agree with you, right? You're rewarding. You're creating a greater engagement. We looked at Dookie Dash, right, which got us here, and someone got very big rewards financially. Okay, and then you're getting people attracted to the brand. It's the power user. I'm all in fan with that. If anything, I was throwing lighthearted. I don't say FUD. I don't like the word FUD, But just my critique from my standpoint as far as time spent, and you're every day you're looking at analytics, you're looking at media, you're fully immersed in Web3 every second. So I can appreciate how that would connect with you, and maybe it's not an age or demographic thing. Again, Ralph cleaned up his poop, so Ralph, I'm happy that you did that. And Jared, let's get you into NFT Go. We've got a NFT Go. Let's get you onto the podcast. Did you send the StreamYard link, guys? Perfect. The StreamYard link is there for you. Let's get you in and let's talk about some analytics, because we've got some really great stuff to talk about tonight on the podcast.
Sweet. So while he comes in,
yep.
What else do you want to talk about? Anything interesting? Do you slightly non-related but semi-related to NFTs? Have you set up your Threads profile yet? Meta's new Twitter killer.
It's making its way in. Right. It's making its way through our JPEG Morgan. I see the Threads. So I'm going to check it out tonight. Can you tell us a little bit about Threads? And it looks like it's through Instagram. Am I correct?
It is. It's tied to your Instagram. You can actually import your profile, but it doesn't automatically bring in all of your Instagram followers. So you can create kind of, the feeds that you want. So I've only played with it for like literally 5 minutes. So I'm definitely not the expert to ask about this. However, it's super interesting because it's a very clean interface. It feels familiar. It's fast. I know that some people were complaining about the onboarding experience because they were like hammered by a ton of traffic, but they navigated it just fine, I think. And it's interesting. The question is going to be, will it have staying power? Is it going to be around in 3 months, or are people going to move away from it? Like we've seen it with some of these other protocols and stuff that have tried to create, like Farcaster or Mastodon or one of these other ones. Like, is it going to have staying power?
And by the way, I just want to talk about when we talk about staying power. And if Tony, you can do a quick screen share. For those that you don't have our daily Ralpha update, and you get it every single day, 7 a.m. in your email inbox, you need to go and click on that link. It is absolutely free. We talk about quality and the ability to really understand Web3 in 5 minutes or less consistently, day in and day out. The Daily Ralpha delivers. All right, let's get back to our conversation. That's just a fact. And so when I think about the noise, and when I'm going to draw the circle on, when I think about the noise in the space and how much is going on, I sort of like quieting the noise, right? And again, I can't wait to get into a great conversation with Jared tonight on this, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So I want to welcome in Jared as well.
What's up, Jared?
Yo. Sorry, I didn't know I was going to be on camera, so I'm a bit disheveled, but it is what it is.
It's totally cool. This is Web3 for you. This is what I love about Web3. It doesn't matter. You come as you are. And the only question that I have for Tony is there a reverberation or background noise?
I think we're getting some loop back of audio. I want to say Jared's like your phone with you in the Twitter space is near you.
I have it muted.
You may want to just drop it into a drawer or like slightly away from you.
There we go. Perfect. Thank you, Jared. I appreciate it, brother. All right, let me get the.
All right, and one more note I wanted to mention. So I have a team member here from NFT Go in the space. His name is Hated by Fate, and he's a member of the AZUKI community and was involved in the whole elemental thing. So he might have some thoughtful insights onto that.
I would love it.
Topic.
I would love it. So maybe we just start tonight a little bit on AZUKI, right? So this has been a pretty crazy week in the digital asset space. Where should we start with AZUKI? I mean, there's a lot to talk about. The elementals drop, which sort of there were some great memes out there. I think fun, lighthearted memes of twins, right? It's the twin collection. So help me understand: was there sort of a method to that madness? Was that purposely done? And orchestrated by the leadership? Is there some information that you can give us on that to start off?
Fate.
I can't hear him. Yeah.
So for me personally, I don't know. To me, it's speculation. My thoughts on it.
Sorry, I was muted. No, I'm sorry.
Welcome.
I was muted by the host, unfortunately. That's why I couldn't talk.
Okay. Well, welcome. How are you doing?
Hey, what's up? I'm Fate. Nice to meet you.
What's up, Fate?
Yeah, I'm part of the NFT Go team here. handling kind of content in real life events and stuff like that. So yeah, I let me just preface by saying that I went to Vegas. So I met everybody from the community in person, right? I think that a lot of the hype and anticipation leading up to the event, and then people not realizing that the event was kind of in some ways the value of that anticipation, are short-sighted, because Azuki is a community, and much like well, I don't want to speak for you, but you said that you don't kind of understand the gaming kind of culture.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying from my end on that, and real quick, and then I'm going to let you come back to you, is you know, I particularly collect digital assets because I want to see the growth and the build of IP and connecting to traditional products and services. So I'm not completely appreciating the people that play the game, and can't say that I completely understand it, but just because I don't doesn't mean that other people don't, and it doesn't connect. And there aren't people, as Jared had said, that don't get handsomely rewarded for being winners, as we saw with Dookie Dash. So that would be my only point on that.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm 31, and I'm not really a gamer, but I am a digital collector like yourself, and I appreciate the anime meta. So, for instance, for me, Azuki is the perfect community for that, because it's a bunch of like-minded people that all are into anime and kind of like a lot of the similar things that we like. And it was really shown in Vegas, specifically just connecting with everybody. Now, your question was this elementals collection needed, and what is some of the conversations?
So yeah, I'm gonna just start. So the question was, we saw there was a great meme of the Winklevoss twins, right? When the collections came out, you had Azuki, and someone by accident sold their elemental. At least that was the news story, where they sold their elemental or their Azuki, thinking it was an elemental. And obviously that's a huge mistake on their part. It has nothing to do with the community or the creation of that. But I think a lot of people were, I guess they were disappointed. Some people felt, not everybody, felt disappointed that it was a very similar collection. So just trying to understand, was there a method to that madness, if you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I think the method here is like, do you like Steam Boy's art or not? If you do, then why wouldn't you expect more of that same type of art? Now, I think a lot of the criticism was like,
Fair.
why didn't they just drop kids, or why didn't they just drop like the animals as its own collection and have people focus on that? Well, this gives you a choice, right? For a lot of the people like myself that wanted an Azuki, now I have an entry point where I get one that looks like it, right? If I'm already an Azuki OG holder, then I can kind of pay attention to the kids and the animals, and those are actually fetching higher prices, like in the 3, 4, 5 ETH, and those are getting sold, right? So essentially, like, I know it's hard to justify adding this many to the collection, but there were talks with the team as far as how to slightly differentiate them in terms of like maybe updating the metadata on the backgrounds so that they're more true to their elemental domain, which is whether that's lightning, fire, ground, or water.
You know, I love that answer. And by the way, it kind of makes sense, right? Lower entry point. You know, what did you expect? It was look completely different. No, I just think there was sort of like for people to be able to easily delineate. But it's a great point that you make. You know, how has and I guess maybe I'll throw this to you as well, Jared. And please stay in the spaces as well, because I'm enjoying speaking with you, Hate. I like what you're having to say. So please, you know, is what Hate by Fate? What is it?
It's fate. It's fate.
Fate. Okay, good. Fate. Gotcha, Fate. So, you know, let me throw this to you, Jared. You know, how has the Azuki's partnership with IPX impacted its gamified metaverse? And I guess it's Hilmuna, if I'm pronouncing that correct.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to say specifically how it's impacted it. I don't know. My more thoughts that I think are more pressing are how this event affected the space overall, because you see a very strong correlation between the market going significantly downhill directly after this mint. And so I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. Like I think most people are good and kind, and I think when things like this happen, it's generally not intentional and usually a mistake. Now, some of my friends think that that's a foolish way to go about life. But I mean, it is what it is, and that's why I think. And so I don't exactly know where they were coming from or what they were doing, but I do think that they took a lot of liquidity out of the space and did more harm than good. And so it's been an interesting thing to sort of watch here, because I see a lot of people involved in the community that feel really, really strongly about them. And I have a lot of respect for their team. So like one of the things we were talking about when we were on our call is they've seen a lot of adversity. Was it last May that news came out right before the beans dropped? The news came out that the founder had been involved with other rugs, and there's been drama. But at the same time, they were completely revolutionary in the space with their smart contracts and basically changed the game on gas fees. And throughout the course of the bear market, they've stood incredibly strong. And so we've done a couple of research articles on them lately, and there's a lot of people in the NFT Go team that hold Azuki and that are really bullish on it. And so it's in some senses of the word, it's incredible what they've done throughout this adversity and how strong they've stood throughout the course of this bear market. And on the other hand, they've made a couple of massive missteps. So it's an interesting thing for me to perceive, because a lot of us, we're just trying to figure this out. This is such a new space, and we're, not everyone, we're just trying to figure out how to make money, how to add value, how to build our communities. And sometimes people make mistakes, and it seems like that's what happened here. And it seems like it's done a lot more damage than good in this specific instance. However, I still am bullish on them in the long run. Obviously this is not financial advice, but I think that all their stuff is super undervalued right now. And even though they've made some mistakes, if I had that kind of liquidity lying around, I'd probably pick up a couple of Azuki right now if I could.
You know what though? That this is the good thing about right now, the retesting the market and being in this, and I call it the opportunity zone, is that there is an opportunity or ability, and like as you said, not financial advice. And I think a strong community, whether people like them or don't like them, or like communities or don't, the successful communities will make mistakes. They fall forward. They learn from it. So again, with all the negativity that can come, it's happened with Bored Ape. It's happened with any community. It happens. The question is I think it's about talking about more of the positive so that people understand what's going on so they can grab a hold of it. And I think to NFT goes to credit the level of technical analysis, and we're gonna dive in a little bit, and I have a couple screen shares that I'd like to talk about. But I love the analytics, I love the map charts, everything that you guys have laid out, that you make it so that I become smarter on the technical side. I've always said at the very beginning, I'm more the fundamental, the look, the feel. Why am I buying something? Why am I getting into it? Why am I asking somebody else for advice as to what communities make sense, around generative art? If I want to pick someone's brain, I'll talk to you about that. So I think there's a lot of really good opportunities. What factors have contributed to when I think the trading, like when I think about the trading, I want to talk about the I think the trading where you can borrow, the lending platform Blur, pardon Blur, but the to be able to borrow against digital assets. So I feel like it makes it even more complicated and nuanced. So there were a lot of people who were borrowing or grabbing liquidity against their digital asset, which created a heavy issue for a lot of people who were playing that game. It's a game that I can't play. You have to be, I think, super technical, and you really have to know your numbers inside and out, and also timing of the market, luck, and then not luck. What are your thoughts around that?
Well, so two thoughts. If you guys know who BitBoy J is, he's been farming on Blur recently using the Azuki beans. And so I believe it's at BitBoy J. He's got an ape as his PFP, so it's got a green background, so they'll spot him really easily. And if you want to get into someone who's been successful on using that platform recently, take a look at what he's been doing with Beans. And if Fate is still here, Fate has an opposite story with what he did recently. Fate, do you want to chime in a little bit on what your experience was?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm a person that I consider myself technically oriented as well. My only mistakes are in math, like simple math. So for instance, I messed up on a blend loan, and I listed in Azuki actually at a price that I forgot to incorporate the kind of down payment that I had already used to activate the blend loan. And upon that, I broke even, or a little bit under it, actually. So yeah, it's basically like what happens with the banks, right? They hand out like liquidity, or people ask for loans, and then the banks come knocking on your door. That's essentially what the blend loan is. I don't know how else to compare it, because it is essentially a bank,
Yeah.
And whenever a caller does call back their loan, you're forced to pay it back within 24 hours, or you surrender your NFT.
And you know what? It can be very risky, but I'm glad that you drew even and didn't take a loss, because Fate. We all know those stories. We have lots of friends, and I'm sure.
Oh no, I took a huge loss. I took a huge. That was my breaking even point. I took a huge loss like the second time, but it was because unfortunately I did the sentiment with the Azuki AMA didn't really resonate with some people. It resonated with me though, so I saw the long vision, which is why I bought into the OG, right? But teach their own, and
That's
my
awesome.
loss was a learning experience.
I think it's great though that the first off, the NFT Go community has someone like yourself on board alongside of Jared, because true professionals in the space bringing forth good information so people can make their own informed decision. We always say on our podcast, we plot, plan, strategize, and implement a move in Web3. And I think that's really important, because oftentimes we're making emotional decisions, but even through those losses, I guarantee you next time you're going to be ahead of time before going in and doing your next, maybe your next blend load. You're going to be like, wait a minute, does this make sense? Let me look at every number. So sometimes it takes a small mistake to make a big step forward or leap forward the next time around. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I'm not I don't hide my mistakes, because obviously like anybody can look at my wallet, hatedbyfate.eth, and look at the mistakes that I've made, right? That's what's beautiful about the blockchain. It's like you can't hide from your mistakes, but you can own them and learn from them. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm doing.
I don't know you, Fate, but you sound like a voice of humility. And so that I can completely respect. And Jared, I want to come back over to you, and please, Fate, stay in here, because maybe there's some more questions we can jump into. But I want to do a quick screen share if we can, and I want to talk about some of the data. So one of the things that I did in prepping to have you on again, Jared, and this is the second time, so super honored, is looking at NFT Go's charts. And when you can simplify it to somebody again who's more of a fundamental, emotional feel, get me involved that way versus a technical, this was kind of exciting. So this was just a basic distribution chart. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I think it's really important when people are evaluating what to get into, and say it's the long-term mindset. What am I looking at on this chart for everybody who's looking in right now on YouTube? And by the way, if you're in Twitter Spaces, get on YouTube. Check out our channel. We've got about 4 or 5 people in there. We had up to 10 before, but come on in, check out the podcast, check out the cool merch behind. So Jared, what are your thoughts on the distribution charts?
So basically, for those of you who can't see, so we're looking at the distribution charts. I believe this is of the Azuki OG collection. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, and so what's important to note here is, so this is indicative of an incredibly strong community. So what you have here is 27% of people are holding between 3 months and 1 year.
Wait a minute. This is my pet hooligan. I apologize.
Well, I mean, I can still explain what the data is.
Please do. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah. So basically, this is another example of a strong community. So between 3 months and 1 year, 27% of people are holding it. And then greater than 1 year is 64%. So that's a massive percentage of people that really want these, and they're not flipping them, and they're holding them, and they're keeping them because they like it. And in the case of My Pet Hooligans, it's probably because it has a really cool game. and the people who are really into this actually want to play the game. And the same thing with the holding distribution. So you see that 68% of people only have one NFT. So if you look at the distribution charts of elementals, you're going to see almost the exact opposite type of charts. And this is one of the issues with it. So there's a massive disparity in holding distribution because a few whales hold most of the elementals, and that's because of how the mint went. So like the more Azuki OGs you had, and the more beans you had, the more Azuki elementals you could get. And so when you have a wider distribution and they have more people that only have one of it,
yes,
you're bringing more people into your community, and you're spreading the wealth, right?
More unique wallet holders, right?
Yeah, exactly. So that's generally what you want. So that's what a lot of people have gripes with about this whole elementals thing, because they didn't actually onboard that many new people into their ecosystem. They added a lot of value to their current holders, which is great. Like, you know, and more power to you. Like if you saved up ETH and made trades and built up an Azuki bag, you deserve to be rewarded by that community. And so if you're one of those types of people, you're going to be in love with Azuki because they keep adding value to you. You know, they dropped you your beans. They gave you access to these elementals. Right. And that's really awesome of them on one hand to be rewarding their community. That's one of the reasons why they have such a strong community. However, you know, if you were to release a secondary collection, or I guess in this case, it was the third collection, that has a lower entry point that wasn't token gated by having to hold another Azuki asset,
yep,
then you could increase your community a lot more, right? And add value to a lot more people in the space. And so those are the types of things. So like when I'm looking at a holding distribution chart, I want a lot of unique holders, and I want people holding for long periods of time, because that's indicative of people having faith in the collection.
Yep.
And also if let's say if 10 whales have 50% of the project, then the price fluctuations can be a lot more unpredictable, because if one of those whales decides that he wants to flip everything, that can crack the floor, right?
Yeah,
so,
and let me just throw this to you, right? To complement what you guys are doing, I love the graphs. They're very easy. I mean, here's another one, holding period before first sale. I love that. And again, when you see never sold, 74% of the community, I mean, that's powerful. Holding amount distribution. Right, one person, unique wallet holders is 65.82%. 2 or 3 is 23%. So when you go through these different things and you look at, the different graphs. I mean, this was actually, I grabbed this on my phone, the barometer, the market sentiment. I just love everything that NFT Go is doing, what you guys are doing, how you're marketing yourself, and then how you're connecting with communities such as Azuki, right? So you can grab all the FUD. We can come off of the screen share. You can grab all the FUD in the world, but the fact is the numbers don't lie, and the data supports what's going on. NFT Go as a community, and Azuki. And I'm not in Azuki at all, but doing the reading, looking at the level of community engagement, it's an extremely strong community. So that's just fact. That's just truth. And that is what it is. I also liked the collection distribution, like how many people hold Azukis and how many people hold Bored Apes and how many people hold Elementals. And it worked its way down to Beans and Mutant Ape. Yacht Club was in there. So again, they're very powerful. They are a blue chip. So and to have their secondary collection launch, and as Fade had said, what did you expect? It's going to be the same. I definitely am excited to hear that metadata is going to maybe change the background so that people can differentiate, and we don't hear someone selling an Azuki by accident thinking it was their elementals, or their elementals.
Which, by the way, I would just throw this out there. I would question the validity of that story, because I mean,
I treat it like, here's my thing.
People like drama.
Yeah, of course. And you know what? So I go like this, and at least my thought as a podcaster is I treat it like it's true until it's proven that it isn't. And when that person does it, like we have what we call social currency. So I think I've developed and built slowly my social currency. So I never want to sit there and tell a fake story. If the story's here, hey, here's the story. It sounds great. And if they did that, well, then that's an oops on them. I mean, someone, floored, like, I forget what it was. It was a Bored Ape, and the person was a really sad story. And it was actually proven on the blockchain. This person sold their Bored Ape dirt cheap. And the question became the ethical question. The person who purchased it, knowing that, right, they pulled the trigger at the right time. Were they supposed to give it back to them? What were they supposed to do? And so then again, it's sort of those things. So I don't get in the way of a good story, and it can be a story nonetheless, so long as it helps and promotes positivity. Because in a space where unique or new wallets or new people engaging is probably right now at a minimum, we want to bring more people in. So I don't get in the way of a good story, but if it's proven not to be true, that person that put that story out there directly, not the people that are reporting on it, they're hurting their own credibility. So who knows, right?
By the way, my friend Fame Cordy is in the space, so shout out to her. And she always has a good take on communities as well. So I don't know if you would want to invite her to speak. Yeah, or if she can speak, but
we're going to have her up in just a second. Just have her, raise her hand, and we'll bring her up shortly. But I do want to talk to you about something, Faith, that you had mentioned before, which was Follow the Rabbit, right? This was the event, I believe you were thinking June 23rd, or talking about June 23rd. It was in Las Vegas. And you said, hey, here's utility. And the community goes, we want more. And you said that's short-sighted. And I don't disagree with you. I think it's kind of like if you hand me more money, and you give me money, the next day you don't give me money, I'm like, where's my money? So tell me a little bit about that event and why people should have really actually realized that was massive utility, because I think it gives people, and I wasn't there, I don't know much about it other than what you're about to tell me, there's a way to connect and network, right? Which in this space is needed. It's a way to possibly build business relationships. And then it's also to get alpha insight in the way of learning, or alpha in the way of a possible Web3 degen play. So tell us a little bit about that event.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I just want to kind of rephrase what I said earlier, is that even though that was what the speculation up to the event led up to, there was actually a product that Azuki is working on, an anime that we've all been anticipating, that we've all awaited. But the communication of that anime didn't connect through along with the new collection, and I'm going to tell you why. All of the events, there was only one official Azuki event in Las Vegas, right? But there were about 6 to 7 to 10 satellite events on other days that same week, hosted by who? Community members. And community members that had plugs in Texas, or I'm sorry, not in Texas, in Vegas, for any kinds of events, eating, entertainment, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So I attended a lot of events from community members or by the community themselves, the different, as you call, sub-communities, such as, for instance, like Spirit DAO. Spirit DAO didn't have an event, but, like the Beans would have an event, and, different stuff like that. So that was huge, 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 huge. I've never seen one project put on that many days of events ever. And then second of all, what we got at the official Azuki event was the trailer to the Elementals anime. Yep. And this trailer blew everyone away, because as an anime fan, like, I could say that is on probably the tier of like my favorites, like Attack on Titan, Akira, like that level of production. Now the Elementals art didn't match what we saw in the trailer, and that's where the disconnection happened. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. And I think if this is like going to be one of the first collections, and I can't wait to get to the Heavy Metal Forge and talk about that. But I think when you're going to talk about one of the first most powerful anime collections, you're going to face some of these challenges. But I love the fact that there were 6 to 7 satellite events. You went to a lot of them. You're connecting with the community. The community is it's the holder, it's the investor, it's the marketer. They are part of ownership. So to hear these things are pretty powerful, right? Because I make my way through the FUD of any community, and every community has had its call it FUD. I don't like the word FUD. I just want to say, it's negative press or criticism. Criticism I can accept when it's honest and it's asking questions that someone go, oh, you're fudding. Now that's too quick to say that. When you get your questions answered in a manner that someone can articulate and really speak to the nuance of the community culture, because every community has its own culture. You might agree with that. And on top of that, the communities being able to come together cohesively under great strain of criticism is impressive. And it seems that Azuki is doing that. Would you agree with me on that one?
We've done it before. We'll continue to do it. You know.
There you go. And we're gonna bring your friend up shortly. I do want to come back to Jared, and I want to I guess, you know, when you look at all the data that you're doing, and specifically speaking to Azuki, since we're on this right now, is there one piece of technical data that sticks out in your mind, a percentage that you, whether it's unique wallet holders, is there something specific that we should really earmark on this conversation concerning Azuki?
I mean, there's a lot of positive data if you look over the past year before this recent decline. So like it's really subjective as to what you want to look. So if you go to the research section on our site, we've got two recent articles. One's called Uncovering Insights, a data analysis of Azuki. And so we wrote that before all of this happened. And there's a lot of really positive things and a lot of really positive data about what they were able to do during the bear. And a lot of it has, you know, similar things to what I was saying earlier. Like, I think they have a couple of things going for them specifically. So one is, like I mentioned earlier, community. So like, look at the holding distribution charts of them. That's really strong. And another thing is the fact that they're an anime collection. So right now here in the States and the Western Hemisphere, there's a lot more fear than in other parts of the world. So right now, Japan has had their government sort of be in support of crypto. And so the whole crypto space and NFT space is actually quite bullish in Japan, as well as South Korea and a few other countries in Southeast Asia. And so I think the fact that they had a really strong community and the fact that they had anime art that resonated with a lot of those Asian cultures is one of the reasons why they were able to do so well over the course of this last year. So if you want to see some good news about them, go check out the article that's called Uncovering Insights, a data analysis of Azuki on the research section of NFT Go. And if you want
do a quick screen share real quick, I'm just putting that up right there. There it is, direct middle for those of you that are on YouTube. We'll also pin that as well, Renee, if we can, in our Twitter Spaces, so that people can go in and read that. And it's pretty comprehensive. It's also positioned some of the questions and conversation that we're having tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah, and so yeah, there's really a lot to go through. That's an extensive article, but to me, in a general way, it's because of their art and their community. And beyond that, it's also the technical aspect behind their smart contracts and how they revolutionized gas fees, and a lot of people started copying them, which says a lot about their tech team and how innovative they are. And I respect that very, very much. And
yeah. Also, by the way, Azuki market performance, showed over the year steady growth with a 31.8% increase in floor price, a new yearly high average. And even though we've had this, I don't want to say temporary dip, but again, it maybe allowed more people to accumulate or get in. And as it just mentioned with Elementals, it allowed new fresh blood to come into the ecosystem and really ride the right anime train potentially. Right? Because again, I'm sure there are going to be other competitors, but they're doing it right. And as you had just mentioned, it was Japan, right? So this is worldwide. This community is very diverse, which is powerful. And I do want to talk a little bit. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna add. Let's be real though. Like, let's be actually critical. A lot of the inflation in the Azuki OG collection was because of blur bidding. Because Azuki was the number one basically traded collection across Blur. So Blur assisted in the, I guess, inflation of, or the, what I would call the artificial inflation
Agreed.
of the floor price.
So
Yeah.
so basically what it's doing is settling down to its recognized price. And that's a great point. By the way, Faye, that is I'm glad you're in here. That's a great point that you make. And it's one that is duly noted. I do want to talk a little bit with you, Jared, on the, I always hear the lore, the story, the storyline. And again, obviously, there are some very successful communities that are doing it right. And I would say, based on a lot of the reading that I did, Azuki's doing that as well. When you hear the word lore and story and bringing people on a journey, are there any things that from that fundamental, that feeling end that you look for that really connect and resonate with you personally?
Well, about Azuki's lore, no, I'm not in the Azuki community, and I'm not really into anime. So for me personally, it doesn't resonate. I bet that's kind of one of the reasons why I brought Fate, because he's the opposite of me in many ways, which is why I think he and I make such a good team, because he's super into anime and super into the Azuki lore. So that's a question that's much better for him.
Well, then you know what? Let's redirect that. So, Fate, you heard the question. Tell me a little bit about lore and what draws you into it.
So I mean, from my PFP is not an actual Azuki. Let me just be clear about that. My PFP is a rendering of a video game character, Cloud Strife from Final Fantasy series, and he's rendered in the Azuki style. Why? Because it's so easy, and the connection is here, is that he has crazy hair. It was beautifully, and this is done by a member from the Azuki community. So she knows the art very well. I commissioned her to make the PFP like this. The sword is like from the video game, the armor, the look, the accessories. So everything is just, from a lore perspective, even the energy, right? It all ties back to these things that, like, we'll call it not melancholia, but just remembering the past through rose-tinted spectacles, I guess I would say. Like, that's what it connects me to. That's what it resonates with me. Lore-wise, yeah, all of these characters have stories and backstories, and there's a whole world. Hilumnia is not a metaverse. It's the setting for this story to unfold. I think that's where there's a distinction to be made. Like the Bored Ape, they're making a metaverse through gaming. And it's important to also understand that they switch from being a yacht club, essentially, because, people get bored at a yacht club, but people don't get bored gaming. Jared just said that, right? Like,
he did. He
can spend a lot of hours gaming, and like, I can spend hours gaming with some video games like Final Fantasy, but being bored at a yacht club all day it gets old, So I think that's why, Yuga had to change their game plan.
And again, I think that's the thing, right? Communities pivot. And I think that, I always say sometimes bad press combined with good press and being in the news, especially right now, I don't find that necessarily to be a bad thing. I think there's a net positive there. Faye, on just some ending words from you, what's one thing that you want to leave us with concerning the Azuki communities, or one thing that we should be thinking about over the next 30 days?
So in regards to the anime is already in production. So what we got wasn't a trailer, it's actually happening. The community managers, A's, Dema, they're taking everybody's feedback into consideration. Dem is specifically scheduling 1 hour blocks of office hours every day this week, every day. And it's going to keep going until he gets through basically everybody. That's how important the community is taken at Azuki. And also look at all of the daily spaces, the people that are building also apart from Azuki. Just the things that I saw in Vegas, like NFC activating smart contracts where the signature is actually on an NFC chip. And that's how you actually mint, is by putting your, like, for instance, a phone to a physical card, and it mints a card onto as an NFT. Like, that kind of technology I think is overlooked, and that's coming from the community, not from the project.
I think a lot of change over the next 5 to 10 years, and even 2, is massive in what we've seen in this space, and all the new things. Like, again, that's the first time I've heard about that in the way you just described it. But that's what's so exciting, is the advancement in technology, and then obviously the social currency of communities that come together, and everybody has their set strengths. Just as Jared had mentioned, again, I posed the question of lure to him when really it should have been you. And I do want to finish up a little bit on Azuki. Did you have somebody, by the way, Faith, who wanted to come up and just say a couple words on Azuki or their place in the space? And I want to thank you for your time, of course, in coming in before we get into heavy metal.
Yeah, Chords. What up?
What's up?
Hi y'all. Just listening to you talk about the lower part of Azuki and wanted to jump in. I feel like the most intriguing thing, at least to me, about Azuki is that it has something for everyone. So if you look at the website, you see really fire music. You see like the city underbelly of Web3. The skater attitude, being alternative, being I don't care. But you also see like the entire really idyllic, really just beautiful nature, beautiful scenery part of Azuki. And this is also what holders are doing. You see some people just vibing, being cute with their beans, capitalizing on the punchable faces of their beans. You also see other people just taking their Azukis on adventure. So I feel like the best thing about the entire Zuki IP is definitely people can just do whatever they want with it, and there's incredible range. That's something that really stands out to me.
No, it's a great point, and I think you being a strong part of that community, you can speak personally from experience, and so it's great to have you on, and I appreciate your time in expressing just that. And now, Jared, I want to talk to you about Heavy Metal Forge. We got on the phone last week and we're like, okay, what do you want to talk about? And you're like, hey, I've got a lot of things that are coming up, and we're going to be having you come back on in the coming weeks because I think there are some other announcements directly from NFT Go. Now I want to talk a little bit about Heavy Metal Forge, and maybe we'll talk a little bit about the analytics. But where should we first start with heavy metal? I guess is my question to you.
Well, so basically, kind of, I touched on it a little bit earlier. So I think the way they're doing these interactive mints are genius. And they started with Dookie Dash, and now they're doing it again with heavy metal as a second generation. So I think that's excellent marketing. And I think it's fun. And I like the fact that they're like continuing to build and try new things. And this isn't like the end all be all game for what they're developing. This is just a little mini game for a mint, right? And so I think that's really cool. I personally like these types of user engagement mints, and I think that's going to be really revolutionary. Now, I understand that some people don't like that and don't want to spend any time. Like even one of my friends, Trish, who's a regular on our space, she has a similar attitude towards you. She's like, I don't want to have to spend time with something. I want to buy it, think the art is cool, think the community is cool, and either it goes up or goes down.
Right.
I'm either trying to flip it or trying to hold it. I don't want to have to. I don't want homework for my NFT, and I get that, and I respect that.
Yeah, I got enough homework.
Yeah, exactly, and I get that. That's cool. But I like it, and so on that hand, I think it's great. The game's fun. To me, it's not very time consuming because I'm always at my desk anyways. So in between emails or phone calls or doing whatever desk work, I can just click over my tab, spend like 30 seconds or a minute doing something, and then click over to another tab. So for my specific lifestyle, it works for this game. And another thing is, so I didn't have a Yuga asset. So, I mean, I work for NFT Go, and my founders are whales and have massive bags. But I'm just a regular person, like I have a fair amount of NFTs and a little bit of crypto, but I don't have the kind of liquidity to buy a Bored Ape, right? I don't even have the liquidity to buy an Azuki right now at 5 ETH. So for me to be able to get into the Yuga community at 0.5 ETH was really, really exciting. So I think they did a really good job at providing a fun, interactive mint for their users, and at the same time, when their users resold these heavy metals, they were at a reasonable price. So, I mean, I know 0.5 ETH, $1,000 is a lot of money. I'm fortunate enough to be in the position to be able to purchase into that.
Totally.
And, where if you think even the floor, right now, the floor of Bored Apes, is it down to like 30 ETH right now? But anyways.
It was below 30. And by the way, I just want to correct you on something you were absolutely wrong on. You're not average, my friend. You're part of the NFT Go family. When you speak, I'm just like here with pen and pad. So sorry, you were wrong on that. But everything else, you're right on.
I appreciate that very much.
Go to a meeting, but thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it.
It was an honor. Thank you so much, Faye. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
Yeah, anytime. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah. It's cool to be able to get into the Yuga community for what I consider a discount. Like, even though, Bored Apes are cheap right now compared to their normal price, but they're still really, really expensive. And even mutants, like they're still way cheaper. Right now, their floor is 5.89. That's a lot of money. So to me, it's fun. It's interactive. It's not that time consuming. It's kind of like a little Tamagotchi sort of thing. And I get to be involved in arguably the best NFT ecosystem that's in existence right now. So I think they're doing a lot of good things.
By the way, you just mentioned Tamagotchi, so I feel like with Heavy Metal Forge, it combines those elements of Tamagotchi and Homescapes, and it's sort of a popularity contest, all kind of condensed in one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool. I'm not too into the popularity stuff and voting thing. Like, I've got a couple friends that are apes, and we've shared a couple votes here and there. But I really don't care that much about it. Like, I'm playing the game for a couple reasons. I want to be able to speak about it honestly and not speculatively. So if I'm in a space or talking to someone, I can actually speak from real experience.
Right.
So that's one of the main reasons why I bought into it. And I also think that I'm going to make money on it. I think that getting in at 0.5 is really cheap.
I think you are.
And so I'm going to list my heavy metal probably for like 2 ETH. And if it sells, I make a bunch of money. If it doesn't sell, I play the game. So to me, it was a safe investment because I didn't see them falling too far below 0.5. And actually got a pretty cool one. That's a Knight. That is one of the more coveted ones that I should be able to sell for well above floor. So, I mean, it's all speculative. I just really like Yuga. My founders are apes. A lot of people I know are apes, and I just wanted to get into the community,
No, that makes sense, and it's sort of why everything. When we look at some of the stats, Heavy Metal Collection is made up of 30,000 heavies, and there are 8 types of heavies, 1,050 traits across the collection. And again, as you said, you're doing a little bit of in speculative, and there were 28,195 NFTs that were minted at that time. I mean, that's pretty powerful. And I think, again, as you pick it up and you hold on to it and you're able to engage with it, which in part is utility. And then if you're able to sell it for 2 ETH, I mean, who's better than you? And I think it's the idea to be able to part with that. For me, anything that I'm getting right now, as I'm holding on to for the next 5 years, at least that's my plan. And some of those will ride down to the depths of despair, into the underbelly of underneath the coffin. And then others will hopefully rise up to make the winners out of the losers that I had. I mean, that's my game plan. Everyone else's is very different, but I've never been able to successfully. There's only been a few times to successfully sell, and when I did, it never felt good. I do want to just deviate, if we can, a little bit from heavy metal, because I want to talk about my pet hooligans. And I don't own any right now, but I had 2 at one point. And, the holding period, I think we saw 27% are held, 3 months to 1 year. 20% were held from 1 to 7 days, and 64% held for more than a year. That was that chart that we were looking at. And as you said, that chart is very similar to the Azuki chart, hence why they are powerful communities, and they're building. And my pet hooligans, it was one of my first episodes. And I was very, I don't say very green, but not as comfortable and also didn't understand the nuance of the space. And also, you know, every time I get to have you guys on, I'm like looking at some of the technicals, which you made it, I don't want to say dummy proof, but it's like analytical charts for dummies. You simplified it. It's not hard. You look at it once, you go, okay, this is what this means. You click over the icon, the eye, and it will literally bring up exactly what you're looking at as far as data is concerned. And I think when people connect all those data points together, they figure out a good game plan for them, the plot, the plan, the strategizing in the implementing of their move. You know, so I just wanted to get away from heavy for a second. And I just wanted to talk about another really great community in the space that are doing good things. Is there anything that you want to add on My Pet Hooligans?
Yeah, so I don't own one. It's definitely something that I'm looking at, and so I've try to set a strict budget for what I spend every month on NFTs, so that way if it goes to zero, I don't cry. So I can't buy one this month, but hopefully next month, that's what I'll spend my allocated budget toward. So here's what I want to say. I think the art's incredible. I love 3D art personally, and the nuances and the different styles. To me personally, I think it's really cool. Like when I look at AZUKI, I respect the fact that other people like it, you know, but it's just not for me. When I look at My Pet Hooligans, that gets me excited and I like it a lot. In addition to the art, the game is cool. They're actually working with, you know, very, very skilled game devs.
Yeah.
And they just rolled out V2 of their game. And I believe it's on Epic Games. There's a free version. It's like you don't even have to have the NFT to play the game, right? There's like two versions. So I think super cool art. And you can tell that they're spending all their money on actually developing an incredible game. So they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they're actually building something really cool. Now, you know, so some people who don't really understand the nuances of what Bored Apes is doing, like when they say Dookie Dash or they see heavy metals, they're like, oh, this game sucks. Well, that's not their big game yet. They're still working on that in the background. My Pet Hooligans is going at it a lot faster and pumping out a really cool game quickly. And I think they're really the first Web3 game that looks like a AAA game. And in addition to that, they have a very, very strong community. So I went to one of their events in LA and it was packed. The vibes were excellent. Everyone was super chill. It was just all love, just nerding out on art and video games. It was really cool. And man, I had one point, but I'm losing it. But so, oh yeah. So what we do every once in a while, like every week or so, we do polls on what collections we should do threads about on NFT Go. And we do this for a few different reasons.
Yep.
One of the reasons is so when we put out these polls, it's a good way to test how active the community is on Twitter. So when we tag them and we see that community jump behind it and they're sharing it with each other and they put it in their Discord and all of a sudden, you know, there's like 600 votes for a certain collection. That in and of itself is a bullish indicator because I want people to care about that collection if I'm going to buy into it. And so to us, it works. It adds value in lots of ways. It's a great way to engagement farm our Twitter, and what I think is a non-annoying way that's actually adding value. So I'm putting this poll, which has great engagement, and incentivizing members of that community to share that because they want the NFTs that they believe in to win the poll.
Yep.
And at the same time, it's making me more bullish on that community, realizing how strong it is. So it's like a kind of a win-win situation in my mind.
Yep. And
if you look back, if you scroll down a little bit last week, we had a poll and My Pet Hooligans crushed it. Like they destroyed everybody else. And then we wrote a pretty thorough poll on them as a result of it. And so, yeah, I think they're great. Art's cool, game's cool, community's cool. It's like,
and by the way, we're divided in audience, right? Some of us, and I hear everything that you're saying. Some of us are in Twitter Spaces, some of us are on YouTube, and so we're doing a lot of screen shares. So you can always go back after if you're listening in on Twitter Spaces. But there was someone that made a really great comment, and it's Vivek. I want to give you a big shout out. He goes, Korea and Asia are great markets for anime. So again, that is powerful, and I agree with him completely. Again, this is a worldwide movement. We're bringing communities together. So you find whether it's the PFP collection, which again in your charts, when I look at an NFT Go, that to me was huge. That was again, that's leading. You got games, you've got all those others that just dwarf, but PFPs are still so powerful. So let me throw this to you. Why is that?
Well, I think that has a lot to do with just what came first. You had your crypto kitties and your crypto punks and your Bored Apes. So a lot of it has to do with just that was the first thing. Another thing is sort of clout and fun. So I was talking to my aunt recently, and she didn't really understand NFTs and why people would spend so much money. And I'm like, well, she does quite well for herself, and she has some expensive art. And I'm like, well, you have people over your house, and you buy this expensive art, and you love it when people come over your house, and you can tell them the story, where you were when you bought this piece, what this piece means to you, how you resonate with that artist, and that's fun for you. I'm the same way. Like I have some cool art. All the art that I have personally on my walls is from artists that I know personally. And so that's a fun story for me. It's like, oh yeah, I met this guy here. This guy was my roommate here. He made this piece for this reason. That's a fun experience for me. Now, there's a lot of people that live on the internet. They don't have that many guests over their house, and they're on Twitter all fucking day. And it's really fun for them to have that be their PFP and take pride in the community that they're a part of. And so I think it's just the next step, and bragging about the art on your walls, but instead of it being on your wall, it's your Twitter handle. And I completely get it, and I completely respect that, because it's literally the same thing, and it might even be better in some ways, because there's orders of magnitude more people that are going to be able to see that. And if you really believe in that art and believe in that community, it's exciting for you to share that and to tell people why you believe in it. It's fun. And I think that's one of the big reasons.
And by the way, I want to just, I want to in part wrap this up, maybe just keep Twitter Spaces open for a couple minutes to see if anybody wants to ask any questions. But I love how my perspective on heavy metal and what they're doing and creating the loyalty and rewarding, right? Just like they did with Doogie Dash. I get it more now, hearing it from people that are engaged with that. Doesn't mean that I'm going to go engage, but I can appreciate it. And it makes me understand that if I was an investor, I appreciate the people that are playing the game. Even though I'm not, doesn't mean that other people aren't. And then in speaking to Azuki, it helps me understand a little bit more clarity as far as the community, as far as the engagement, as far as, we talked about the 6 to 7 satellite parties, right? Because holders are investors, holders are marketers, holders want to make money and grow with the community and be rewarded in perpetuity, as they should. I do want to finish it out on one screen share, which is about NFT Go. Guys, and for anybody that's listening in, I am a big fan of NFT Go, right? There's nothing to sell you. It's simple. You can actually connect in. And at some point, in the coming weeks, Jared, we're going to have you back on, because I do want to talk about some of the programs that are going to be happening, and I'll let you announce that. I won't be the one to do that. But I do want to say that you can go connect your wallet. And if you just click over analytics, and I'm going to go through pretty slowly. First off is the barometer, market sentiment. It's like the temperature that's outside. Traders, buyers to sellers, 30-day profit and loss. You can look at that. The blue chip index, the market cap and volume, holders and traders, category market cap, right? We see PFP, you see that's just leading the charge. And then next would probably be collectibles and utility and game. So you can come off a screen share. Thanks so much, Tony. So in short, guys, if you're not following and you're not subscribed to NFT Go, you are shortchanging yourself. Just like I say, NFT Go, the Daily Ralpha, these are communities that I very much so engage with. I engage with the content. There's a lot of great reading, a lot of great research to do. That's how you learn. Then you get in Discord. You ask the questions. You connect in there. And you know what? There's no such thing as a stupid question. I'm learning every day. This is my platform. My biggest hedge is the people that are engaging and the incredible guests, Jared, like you. The only one thing you got wrong tonight was selling yourself short. You are my most valuable PFP on that screen, you handsome guy, you.
Well, thank you very much, my brother. I have a lot of respect for you. I think it's really, really awesome how thoughtful you are and how much you care about your guests and the questions that you ask. I feel like you ever watch Hot Ones?
Yes.
You're the NFT Chris Evans. You know how you always have his guests are always shocked behind the thoughtfulness of his questions because he really cares and he puts effort into what he talks about and how he presents things. And I feel like you do that more so than any other person on NFT Twitter, and I have a lot of respect for that.
Thank you, my friend. It's awesome to have the respect of great people, and I also see from my friend over there, I got 100% on the YouTube. So it's always an honor to be able to connect and build these relationships and forge forward, especially in a time. You know, we talk about bear and insecurity. I go, this is the time where you double down and you go for what you believe in, whatever that is. So no, it's awesome to have you on. What we'll do is we're gonna come off of our YouTube. And we're going to stay in Twitter Spaces for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll head out from there. But as always, Jared, it's an honor to have you and the NFT Go family on, and let's have you back on with some more big announcements in the coming weeks.
I can't wait.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for watching CraigO's Crypto Corner, the best in Web3, blockchain, NFT, and cryptocurrency technologies. CraigO signing off.